Well, good afternoon, class. Hope everybody's missing me, and make sure you're staying caught up. I appreciate your help with the substitute, and I should be back on Monday. I thought I was going to be back today, but it looks like things didn't go as planned. So just do the best that you can. We're going to be working on worksheet 3.3B. Your substitute, make sure that you hand that out. If you don't have one, raise your hand and let her come by and give you one. It's close, very close to the worksheet that we did yesterday. The only thing that's different about it is you're going to be dividing by a negative number, which is going to cause us to do something special, and you're also going to be using the distributive property. The graphing, the closed and open symbols that go along with greater than or equal to, and then less than or equal to, all those rules still apply. So if you get behind, just raise your hand, have the substitute pause the video, get caught up, and we're going to try to do problems 1 through 6 today, so that will only leave you 7, 8, and 9 for homework, so not a lot. And then you'll be correcting these assignments. The last 2 assignments you'll be correcting them on tomorrow, on Friday. So let's begin with problem number 1. We can see here that we got 52 is greater than or equal to 4 times the quantity of 2x plus 3. So we can see that this set right here is closed. Is it closed or is it open? Yes, it's closed. So if we look right here, we can see that there's an equal to bar there. And so let's go ahead and so remember, if it's closed, we color in the circle. If it's opened, we just leave the circle uncolored. So right here, if you when we have parentheses, we've got to clear those parentheses by using the distributive property, and we haven't done any of that yet this year. So this equation now becomes 52 is greater than or equal to 4 times 2 is 8x, 4 times 3 is 12. Okay, you can see that the 8x is on this side. We have a constant of a positive 12, so we're going to do the inverse to the 12, make it a negative 12, so that goes to 0. We've done it here. We have to do it to the other side to keep our balance. Remember, that's another form of adding 0 to our equation. So 52 add a negative 12 will give me 40. So 40 is greater than equal to 8x. We want to have a 1 instead of an 8, so if I write 8 over 8, that turns that to 1. That's a form of division, so I divide, do the same thing to the left hand side. So now we're going to simplify this, and my final equation is 5 is greater than or equal to x. Now you can see that my variables on the right hand side and my numbers on the left, I'm going to switch that around, because if I switch that around, that will help me get my graphing right. So I'm going to have x. The inequality point is pointing towards the x, so I'll point that towards the x as greater than 5. So I can see that my arrows are going to be traveling, my shading is going to be traveling to the left. So let's go ahead, let's put down 0. Let's put down 5. And we've already decided that this is a closed set because of that right there, the equal bar underneath there. So let's go ahead and make it closed. I'm going to change my shading color. So that is closed, and we go that way. So that's problem number 1. So this is the simplification of the inequality right here, and this is the graph that belongs to that statement. Okay. Okay, now we're ready to start number 2. So this equation is 2 times the quantity of 7x plus 3 is less than 34. So we can see that this is going to be open. So that means we're going to have a circle and we're not going to color it in. And let's go ahead and distribute right here. So 2 times 7 is 14x. 2 times 3 is a positive 6 is less than 34. So let's go ahead and if we look right here, we have to do the inverse of a positive 6 is a negative 6. So let's do it to each side. See that that goes to 0. This 34 add a negative 6 will give me, looks like 28. So my inequality now is 14x is less than 28. So let's come up over here and we'll finish this. So 14x is less than 28. We know that we want to have a 1 in front of the x, so we divide it by 14. That's a form of 1. Let's do it to the other side to keep the inequality balanced. So now I get x is less than or equal to 2. Now we can see we already have our variable on the left hand side. We've got our number on the right, so we can use the inequality to point which direction we shade. So let's go ahead and put our boundary point. Well, we want to put 0 first, so 0 is going to be over on this side this time. The boundary point is over here. And again, it's open. And then I shade to the left. So there's your shading. There's your boundary point. Again, it's opened. So this is the solution to number 2. So go ahead and pause the video if you would like. Take a minute or so to finish writing this problem down, and then we'll move on to problem number 3. Okay, problem number 3 is 2 times the quantity of 5x minus 9 is less than 42. We can see that this one is also closed. If you look right here, there's no bar underneath it, so this is also closed. So it's an open circle. Let's go ahead and use the distributive property here. So 2 times 5 is 10, so that will be 10x. 2 times the negative 9 will give you a negative 18 is less than 42. Okay, let's go ahead and look at our inverse here. This is a negative 18, so I want to do a positive 18 to each side. We know that one will add to 0. 42 plus 18 looks like that's 60. So now my new inequality is 10x is less than 60. So let's go ahead and finish our inequality up here. So 10x is less than 60. 10x is less than 60. Well, I want to change the 10 to a 1, so I write it over itself. That's another form of 1. 10 over 10 is 1. And if I do it to this side, I have to do it to the other side to keep my algebra balanced on each side. So now it simplifies to x is less than 60 divided by 10 is 6. So x is less than 6. Now I want to do my graph of the inequality. I always want to show the boundary point. I know that 6 is greater than 0, so it's to the right of 0. So there's 0. There's 6. If I look up here, remember that it's open. So draw your circle. Don't color it in. And then if I look at my arrow, it's shaded to the pointing to the left. So that's how I want to do my shading, is going to the left. So there's the answer to number 3. So go ahead and pause the video and take a minute or so, and then we'll go on to number 4. Okay, looking at problem number 4, we've got a negative 76 is greater than or equal to a negative 4 times the quantity of a negative 7x plus 5. So on this one we can see that we've got a lot of negative numbers, so we've got to be careful with that. We change to my pen here. So I've got a negative 76 is greater than or equal to, let's distribute a negative 4 to a negative 7 is 28. So 28x, and negative 4 to a positive 5 is a negative 20. So now my inequality is a negative 76 is greater than or equal to 28x minus 20. It looks like that my inequality is closed. So that means my circle is going to be a solid. It's going to be colored in. Now let's go ahead and simplify this more. We see that we have a negative 20 constant term right here. So take the inverse of a negative as a positive, so that will become a positive 20. We do it here, and then we do it to this side to keep the equality. So that gives me a negative 76 and a positive 20. Gives me a negative 56 is greater than or equal to. You know that this one goes to 0, so all that we have left on this side is 28x. So let's go up over here and we'll finish this. Find out our simplified statement. So a negative 56 is greater than or equal to 28x. We want to change 28 to 1, so we write it over itself. That's a form of division. 28 over 28 is the same as 1. We'll divide by 28 to this side. Negative 56 divided by 28 is a negative 2. It's a negative 2. So a negative 2 is greater than or equal to 1x or x. Now we can see that our statement, I want the x on the left hand side, so we're going to put our x. Let's go ahead and write our negative 2, and then I can see the inequality sign points towards x. So now I can use the direction of the arrow here to help me with my shading. So x is less than or equal to a negative 2. Negatives are left of 0, so I'm going to put my 0 over here. And then I will put a negative 2 right here. Looks like I shade to the arrows pointing towards the left. Remember that it's closed. And the arrow goes this way. Okay, that's problem number 4. So pause your video, take a minute, and finish copying down the problem. Okay, our next problem is number 5. We've got 5 times the quantity of 3x minus 3 is less than or equal to 135. So we can see that this one is closed. So that means it'll be a solid circle. So let's go ahead, take 5 times 3 is 15x. 5 times a negative 3 is a negative 15. And that's greater than or equal to 135. We can see that a negative 15 is our constant. So we're going to add 15 to each side. Negative 15 plus 15 is 0. I do it to the other side as well. 135 plus plus 15 is 150. So now my new equation is 15x is less than or equal to 150. Let's go up here and we'll finish this inequality. So 15x is less than or equal to 150. We want to have a 1 here, so I'll take 15 and write it over 15. That's a form of 1. It's also a form of division because what I've done here, so I'll divide to each side. So x is less than or equal to 150 divided by 15. Well, I times 10 times 15, I'll get 150. So 10 has to be the answer. So x is less than or equal to 10. 10 is greater than 0. So that means that 0 is here. 10 is greater than 0, so 10 is to the right of 0. My inequality is pointing towards the left. So that's the way that I'll shade. So, and, oh, almost forgot, it's closed. So that means I'll draw my circle and I'll color it in. Okay, that's number 5. So if you need to take a minute and copy this down, just have the substitute pause the video. Okay, the last problem that we're going to do today is number 6. This is a little bit different because we're going to end up dividing by a negative number. And anytime you divide by a negative number, you have to switch the inequality, the direction of the inequality, and we'll talk about that towards the end of this problem. So let's go ahead and do our distributive property. So a negative 5 times 2 is a negative 10x. And negative 5 times the 10 is a negative 50. So negative 10x minus 50 is less than or equal to a negative 90. We can see over here that we have a negative 50, so I'll take the inverse of a negative 50, which is a positive 50. I will complete that to both sides. That goes to 0. And negative 90 plus 50 will give me a negative 40. So our inequality now is a negative 10x is less than or equal to a negative 40. Now you can see right over here that I have a negative number in front of the x. And so anytime you have a negative number in front of your x with an inequality, you're going to end up dividing by a negative number. And anytime you divide by a negative number, once you get your final statement, you have to switch the direction of this. So let's go ahead and do that, and we'll finish this problem right now. So a negative 10x is less than or equal to a negative 40. I'm going to divide by the negative 10. A negative 10 divided by a negative 10 is 1. So that ends up being 1x, or just x, is less than or equal to 4. Now, because I divided by a negative number, I have to switch this inequality. So that inequality now needs to be greater than or equal to. So on problems number 7 and number 8, you're going to be dividing by a negative number, so you must switch the inequality. So now my final statement is x is greater than or equal to 4. 4 is to the right of 0, so let's put 0 first. Let's put 4 over here. If you look right here, that that is closed. So I'm going to draw my circle. I'm going to color it in, and looking at the inequality, now that it's on the X is on the left hand side, the number is on the right, I can use the inequality to tell me which way that I shade. So I want to shade to the right. So that's problem number 6. If you just need a minute to finish this problem, have your substitute stop the video and then complete it. So that's the help on the worksheet for today. I really appreciate your help with the substitute and behaving and doing the things that you need to do to make the day go easier. And I will be back on Monday. Thank you and have a good day.